Hello. We've moved on to 4.3. Today is Thursday, May 7th. When we solve quadratic equations, we're going to find the x-intercepts. Okay? X-intercepts are also the roots, they're also the solutions, and they're also the zeros. Now, when we were in class, we were finding or solving the x-intercepts by factoring. Okay? So to find the x-intercepts, we were factoring. But there's also another method. Okay? Using the quadratic formula. Okay? So that's method 2. So solve means find the x-intercepts, which I've said already up here. We solve a quadratic equation by first attempting to factor, and then second, using the quadratic formula. Note number 1, when we can't, that's the key, when we can't factor, we cannot find the numbers that multiply to C, add to B. When we cannot factor the quadratic equation, we just can't find the answers, we find the roots using the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is this. The B, the A, the C are all values, A, B, and C are values from y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. That's the standard form. Example 1, solve each equation. Okay, so we know that solving would be to find the x-intercepts. Round. Now, whenever they're asking you to round, chances are you're going to use the quadratic formula. Okay? So if they're telling you to round, we're just going to go to the quadratic formula. Okay. The problem is here, this is in vertex form. So we could look at the graph, right? See where it hits the x-axis approximately, right? So we know that the h value is 4 and the k value is -5. And that a is 2, which is positive, right? So that 4, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically it's just, something like this. So 4, -5 is there. So it has some roots. We just don't know where exactly. We don't know the values, okay? So, but we need standard form. So we need standard form. Standard form. Remember, if I'm going too fast, just stop the video and replay it. So I'm going to expand y equals 2 bracket x minus 4 squared minus 5. So y equals 2 x minus 4 times x minus 4 minus 5. Y equals 2 x squared minus 4x minus 4x plus 16 minus 5. Y equals 2 x squared minus 8x plus 16 minus 5, and then you multiply these out. So we got y equals 2x squared minus 16x plus 1532 minus 5. So y equals 2x squared minus 16x, and then add these together, plus 27. All right, I finally got it into the standard form. I can't use anything except a, b, and c because these are the values that are in the quadratic formula. So I first need standard form, okay, and then secondly, I'm going to sub my a, b, and c values into the quadratic formula, okay? So a is 2, b is negative 16, and c is 27. Okay, I'm going to go up here. So I'm going to go up here because I'm going to need some room. So I'm going to sub my a value of 2, my b value of negative 16, and my c value of 27 into this formula. Okay, it's x equals because we're finding the x-intercepts. Okay, so into x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. All right, so x-intercepts, the solution is negative, whatever the b value is. In this case, it's also negative. So it's a double negative, plus or minus the b squared, negative is in the brackets, okay, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 27. Okay, all divided by 2 times a, which is 2. So I have x is equal to, these become negative times of negative, this is positive 16 plus or minus the square root. Now, this plus or minus, if you haven't seen this before, you might wonder where this is, what this means. Okay, notice that we've just been ignoring it for a very, very long time. So don't worry, we're going to figure out what we do with that in a second. Okay, so negative 16 squared, if I type this in just the way it's written, okay, so bracket 16, that's negative, bracket, and then I square it, looks like this is squared, I get 256, okay, so 256. Now, negative 4 times 2 times 27 is just exactly that. Negative 4 times 2 times 27. Negative 216. All divided by 2 times 2, no, that's timesing, is 4. So we have x is equal to, positive 16 is understood to be there, square root, so 256 minus 216 is 40. Okay. Now, I need to take the square root of 40. Notice that that's something I've not done yet. But when I do that, I'm going to get root 1 when I add the square root of 40. And over here, I'm going to get root 2 when I subtract the square root of 40. So what this is going to look like is 2 branches, okay? Because we typically are having 2 roots, right? A parabola is 2-sided, right? Root 1, root 2. Okay, so root 1 is x is equal to 16 plus whatever the square root of 40 is. So the square root of 40 is 6.3245 blah 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 divided by 4. Put brackets around the top numerator because we're going to figure out what that is before we divide by 4. This one over here is x equals 16 minus the square root of 40, which is 6.3245, blah, blah, blah. All divided by 4. We're going to put brackets around that. So I have two roots like I had up here. Okay. So it's 16 plus this number. So x is equal to 22.3245, blah, 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 divided by 4. X is equal to 5.581, blah, 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 round to 2 decimal places. X is approximately equal to 5.58. Okay, here it's 16 minus 6.3245. X is equal to 9.6755 divided by 4 is 2.418, blah, 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 round to 1 decimal, round to 2 decimal places. Okay, and that is x is equal to approximately 2.42. Okay, so what that means is if we were to draw the graph, y is here, x is here, 2.42 would be here, and 5.58 would be here. We already established that it was opening up, so that would be a general idea, and then this vertex would still be 4, -5. Okay? All right. This one looks less complicated for sure. It's not in standard form, okay? So you need standard form, okay? And again, we're solving, so we're finding the x-intercepts and then we're rounding. As soon as they say round, we can just go right to the quadratic formula. Okay, so the x squared is positive 3. I like the fact that it's already positive on the left side, so I'm going to move the 12 over. So you get 3x squared minus 12 equals 0. Well, that's the same as this being y equals 3x squared minus 12. And I can change the order so that my brain recognizes it. Y equals 3x squared minus 12. Now some people might say, well, you don't have a bx there. So this is the same as y equals 3x squared plus 0x minus 12, where y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so a is 3, b is 0, and c is -12. Okay, so I'm going to sub in. Just give me more room here. Sub in the a value of 3, the b value of 0, and the c value of -12. Okay, into, okay, so that's our second step, into x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. Don't worry about the plus minus here, we'll get to that. All right, so -b, the value is 0. So I can write that just to tell myself that I've not forgotten it. So -0, okay, plus or minus the square root of b squared. B squared is 0 squared. I don't need a bracket around the 0. I mean, if I really want to, I can do that. Minus 4 times a, which is 3, times c, which is -12, divided by 2 times a, and a is 3. Okay, So x is equal to negative 0. I don't need to write the negative anymore. 0 is understood to be positive. Plus or minus. Again, 0 squared is just 0. Now, when I'm multiplying the negative 4 times the 3 times the negative 12, I'm literally doing 4, which is negative, times the 3 times the 12, which is negative. Okay, if you need to, play that over again in the video. Okay, equals 144. Notice it's positive. Okay, why? Because this negative times a positive is a negative, and that negative result times a negative result, or a negative sign, is a positive overall. Okay, divided by 6. All right. Okay, so now we can add the 0 plus the 144 is 144. Now, if you know your perfect squares, this will be an exact number, right? So you know that, again, this is your time to break this up. So you'd have root 1 is x equals 0 plus, what is the square root of 44? There we go. Square root of 144 is 12. I know that, but I need to show that I can do it on my calculator as well, right? So that's the square root of 12, or sorry, square root of 144. Root number 2 is x equals 0 minus the square root of 144. Well, the square root of 144 is still 12. Divided by 6. Okay, so 0 plus 12, do that first, is 12 divided by 6. So x is equal to 2. That's a root, right? Because we have 2 roots, just like over here. I'm going to assume that it's 2 roots. X is equal to 0 minus 12 is negative 12 divided by 6. So x is equal to negative 2. Okay, so that means that I've got a root of 2. I've got a root of negative 2. And our a value was positive. So that's where it is, okay? Now, we don't know the exact vertex because this was not in vertex form, okay? All right. All right, let's try the next one. Y is equal to x minus 2 squared plus 1. We're always curious, hopefully, to know where this is going. Okay, so we could graph this. So we could say that the vertex is 2, 1. The A is positive. So it opens up. Opens up. So this is x, 1, 2, and this is y. So 2, 1. So the vertex is there. So the vertex is 2, 1. We've got the graph above the x-axis. What you should be saying is graph doesn't cross the x-axis. Okay, therefore there are no roots. So if that's all true, which it is, okay, oops, I'll do that again. Okay, so y equals a, x minus h squared plus k. We find the vertex is 2 and 1. A is positive, so it's opening up. So this is my x value, this is my y value. So 2, 1, 2, and 1 up is right here. Opens up, it's positive. The graph does not cross the x-axis. Okay? Graph doesn't cross the x-axis, therefore there are no roots. So if that's the case, which it is, I mean, we haven't made a mistake here, what's going to happen to our quadratic formula? Okay? So let's, since there are no roots, what happens to the quadratic formula? Okay, that's what we want to know. All right, so first we need standard form. Okay, so let's get it. So y is equal to bracket x minus 2 squared plus 1. We expand it. Two brackets containing two terms. We FOIL. Y equals x squared minus 2x minus 2x plus 4. And then that's plus 1. Y is equal to x squared minus 4x plus 5. Okay? So the second thing we need to do is compare it to ax squared plus bx plus c to get our a values. That's understood to be a 1. A is 1, b is negative 4, and c is 5. Okay? So then the next thing we need to do is sub a equals 1, b equals negative 4, and c equals 5 into, okay, so this is our second step, into x equals negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2 times a. When we do that, x is equal to negative. The b value itself is also negative, so double negative, that's okay. Plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is negative 4. Negative is in the brackets, by the way. If it's not in the brackets, you're going to get a mistake. Minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 5. All divided by 2 times a, which is 1. All right. So x is equal to negative times a negative is a positive, so positive 4 plus or minus the square root of, when I type this in, the negative, which is part of the b value, has to be in the brackets. If it's not, I will make an error, okay? So negative 4, and I want to square it, is 16. I can do that in my head. Hopefully I know how to do that. Minus 4 times 1 times 5, okay? So 4 is negative, okay? Times 1 times 5 equals negative 20, okay? Negative 20. Divided by 2 times 1, which is 2. X is equal to 4. I don't need to write the positive anymore. Plus or minus the square root of, now, I should know this in my head, but let's say I don't. 16 minus 20 equals a negative 4 divided by 2. Now, you should already know that taking the square root of a negative number is not possible. Okay? It's not the same as having a negative in front of the square root. Okay? Taking the square root, let's see if I can make this work. So I have a negative 4, which is here. Okay, I'm going to take the square root of that. So take the square root. See how this comes e as error? Okay, I'll do it again. 4, which is negative. So this is just memory, but there's no symbol here. Okay, watch when I take my square root. I press it and the e will come up. Press it, e. E for error. Okay, so that's an error. Error on the calculator. Okay? What happens to the quadratic formula? Error on the calculator means the quadratic formula doesn't work.